Welcome, a new episode of Life Without Stress in English and talking to Tom Pryor in Estonia. So, why Estonia, Tom?
Um, well, I actually originally came to Estonia to shoot a movie. Actually, it was originally to shoot a movie, and then it ended up being a long development process of the movie. And then in that time, actually, I just really learned to love the country, and I've got a lot of friends here and almost family here now. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I know Estonia from the Eurovision Song Contest. That's the only thing I know about the country.
Mhm.
So, you fell in love with it.
Yeah, it's like a very very much more like peaceful way of life here actually. Like it's an advantage of having a very small population and um yeah, there's been like a lot of resonant things about it, like the closeness to nature and it's very like pristine in terms of its natural environments.
Hmm. Sounds good. I always go to the forest to get that kind of feeling, but you found a country who gives you that feeling. Um, so you're a famous actor. I was a famous radio DJ. How come we got into this search for truth, Tom?
I mean, I can honestly say that my journey into it came from suffering, to be honest.
Hmm.
A lot of suffering, and just wanted to sort of know what was going on with that, like why it was there. Um, and yeah, it kind of got me asking deeper questions like why does the suffering continue for example? And around like the beginning of 2023, I found myself asking the question, being like, surely we can't be here to just survive a materialistic realm and die. And I kind of started asking bigger questions like, can you, whoever you is, show me why we're here? Like, what is this experience? And this led me on a very interesting and very revealing path.
Yeah, I can imagine. So the word non-duality is something that came up in your life how long ago?
It would have been the same year, so yeah, 2023.
23.
Yeah.
Because in 2017 at the gym, you had a kind of epiphany moment. How do you call it?
hmm
Can you bring us back to that?
Yeah. I mean, this was like really one of those moments where I was just like, okay, this is not what it appears to be. So I was uh, auditioning for a lot of different projects all at the same time. I had a team in America and I had a team in the UK, and there was a lot of auditioning, and I kind of got like burnt out, and I sort of collapsed in a heap um, after working out in the gym one day, and uh, just was like, I don't know what to do anymore. Like, this isn't bringing me joy, specifically like this process of auditioning and just endlessly being on this kind of conveyor belt of self-taping. And so I just said, like, again, to whoever you was at the time, I was like, going, can you just do something about this? Can you just, if I'm supposed to be acting right now, can we just let it roll? Or if it's supposed to be like a different way, can you just take it away? And yeah, then the next day I was flying to Berlin Film Festival, and I got an email from my agent out of nowhere uh, saying we're no longer working together. And this really shocked me, actually. Considering that I'd spoken to this agent maybe about 3 weeks before, saying you have nothing to worry about. Like, do you have to worry about the stability of like your team or um, your representation or anything like that. She was like, just go and, do your thing. And yeah, and then just like an email came, and there wasn't even a question. It was just like, we're done. I don't know what to do with you, and that's the end.
Wow.
Yep,
And that was a blessing in disguise, I guess.
for sure.
Yeah. Not at
Yeah.
that moment, but afterwards. How long did it take you to realize that this was the help from the universe? Go
I mean, yeah, the sort of the known character of Tom was very sad about this and just like, how could she do this? And how could it all happen? And it all just sort of went away that quickly. I still had agents in America and in management. But yeah, just like sort of overnight, this happened. And initially I was just like, wow, like this is really, really bad. But then actually it really freed me up. Like almost immediately, I'd been wanting to go traveling in South America and just to kind of deep dive into more of these said topics and these environments. And that's actually what I was going to do in South America. And yeah, it basically just gave me a free pass effectively to just go live on the road, travel, go see what life had to offer in terms of deepening my experience into truth. And I still have a very strong, connection with the film business for sure, because I went and made movies after this. But it's just that this particular way was just like, this is not your way anymore.
Hmm.
And so it's through filmmaking and through teaching and these kind of conversations that I really have found what I'd say is quite a beautiful hybrid, like one sort of leg in each side.
Yeah. Was there a particular teacher or guru you followed? Someone like Tony Parsons or Eckhart Tolle?
Um, there's been a lot actually of different people along the way. It's sort of like teachers have come in, teachers have kind of gone out. Some of them are totally, like if I were to mention names, are totally unknown, and then some of them are more known. Eckhart Tolle's uh, book for sure, like The Power of Now, was significant. Um, as has been like Rupert Spira and yeah, I don't actually know if there's many more of them who are kind of really like known actually
Or
out there
try
at
me.
all.
I talked to a lot of them, like someone like Jeff Foster or Andreas Müller or Joe Dispenza,
Um,
of course.
but Joe Dispenza actually I did quite a lot of work with actually like back in the day. I say back in the day, this was in like 2019. Like I did a lot of retreats and a lot of real deep inquiry through these processes, and this was fascinating, very, very, very revealing. Um, and then Angelo DeLulio,
Mhm.
and this was a very, very curious and very interesting, like Zen approach, and like I found it really, really fascinating and very, very much kind of like excavating like this sort of shadow self. Um, I did a lot of shadow work actually in 2022, like with a series of groups in the UK, and yeah, it's been like a pretty fruitful journey of different forms of teaching. Teachers have come in, teachers have gone out, and it's sort of like I kind of seem to get them for about the amount of time that I need, and then it's like, okay, you're moving on.
Yeah, so no particular one guru you were all found about. I can imagine that someone like Jim Carrey has been an example for you because he did this total shift and he almost only talks about non-duality all the time.
Yeah, I mean it's been fascinating to watch Jim Carrey's career unfold and how it's also changed, and also the type of work that he was in, for a long time, and he has like an amazing gift actually as a performer, and also for sure in terms of his sort of um seeing beyond the veil, I would say.
Yeah, you've seen this movie, what's it called again? Where all the actors are really actors in his life. What's it called again? Shit, how can I forget the title of that great movie? The Truman Show.
The Truman Show, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, this is just like amazing.
yeah. Before we go into depth of all this beautiful stuff, are there any movies you've seen? Have you seen like the series True Detective, which has this non-duality talk all the time?
I actually haven't seen True Detective. Now you're making me want to watch it.
Yeah, you should, you should. But
Wow.
movies like The Matrix, of course, and
Yeah.
have you seen What the Bleep Do We Know?
Yeah, I watched this many years ago actually. It kind of came across my path. I had some folks back when I was growing up in Dorset, and they slided me this movie back when I was probably about 15. And I was just like, wow, this is really, really amazing. Like I've always had like a very strong affinity with quantum physics. Like I'm not a physicist by any means at all, but I was always like very interested, and I was sort of watching quantum physics lectures on YouTube in like 2013 and 2014 when I was like writing some material, and even to this day, like, and also all through the Joe Dispenza work, it's really fascinating. But in terms of films, um, yeah, it's a good question in terms of like the sort of non-duality. I mean, one of the most fascinating films I've seen for exploring what I would say going beyond the mind is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
This is an extraordinary piece of work. Like I think that a lot of friends that I saw it with were like, "What on earth just happened?" And I think that there's a really fundamental experiential effect that this movie has actually, which is just like, what on earth is going on?
yeah,
And yet at the same time has a very poignant sort of feeling back to truth.
yeah. Great. To wrap up this little item of movies, we have this movie called Who's Driving the Dream Bus? There's this movie called Non-Duality Live as It Is. And a friend of mine made a movie in English, Who is Alice? It's for free on YouTube with not so famous actors, but quite some good acting, I must say. And it's also pointing to this. But isn't that when you start to recognize this, you find it everywhere in art, in music, in theater, in films?
For sure. Yeah, it is really one of those things where you really sort of end up seeing that it was always there all along. Like it was always kind of pointing us back to truth, back to oneness. I mean, one of my biggest influences, I think, actually in the non-duality space, again, since I was about a teenager, was Shakespeare.
Hmm.
And you know, being an actor and having a very strong affinity actually with his work so early on. I remember there's a really amazing British actress called, well, she's now a dame, so it's Dame Harriet Walter, and she actually came to my school and performed one of Hamlet's soliloquies because she'd actually just played a all female version of Hamlet in London, and I was just like totally taken. I was just like, wow, like the her delivery and the combination of that and the sort of the revealment of what was happening in Shakespeare's writing and is happening is quite extraordinary.
Yeah, there are some quotes by Shakespeare. Nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
Yeah.
And what's the one about life being a play and we're all actors on a stage?
Mhm.
Yeah, does it give you still does it still give you goosebumps when you read that kind of sentences, or are you beyond that, Tom?
No, I think there's an immense like power like within it for sure. I mean, I ended up putting uh several of the most influential Shakespeare quotes for me actually into one of the last movies I made. uh, Simply for this reason, so that it's almost like breadcrumbs along a trail that some people will get it, and some people will be like, "Oh, that was nice. You decided to put some Shakespeare in a
Yeah,
movie set in the Soviet Air Force." But yeah, there's some quite poignant moments in there because of its influence.
yeah. We're now talking about positive things, but I heard you say in a great talk with Univibes, be sure to watch that or listen to it if you haven't, uh, about suffering. The reason why we suffer is to set us free, you said there. So it's not only about the positive things pointing us to this, it's also about the negative things.
For sure. I mean, we basically can never know wellness without illness. Like we can never know a sunny day without what it's like when it's pouring with rain.
Hmm,
Like we can never know the taste of an incredible meal without having a really shoddy one.
hmm,
And it's kind of like there's this intricate nature to experience which has to come as both. Like we can't possibly actually have one without the other. We can't know what it is like to experience grace if we haven't fallen from it. Like, and so the journey is the undulation of like good and bad, right and wrong, pain and um, whatever the opposite of pain is, like joy or lightness. or laughter. Like we have an essential nature to experience that has to be both ways. And I have to say I've been, dare I say, lucky enough to experience this very, very clearly, very directly, in all kinds of different modalities, like in breath work or in meditation or in acting, where an experience can be honestly so horrific, and so painful or so deeply emotionally cathartic in terms of suffering. And then there's like a moment where it inverts, but you can never get there without the suffering. Like, because it's almost like you go through the suffering in, and then it inverts, almost a bit like something like a black hole or something. It inverts and then actually just shows you that there's an utter peace on the opposite side of it, and that actually they're kind of two sides of the same coin.
Hmm. So suffering is necessary. You still suffer once in a while.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I really love this phrase, which is that like samsara is nirvana, or nirvana is samsara. If you want to
Hmm.
get it around the right way, nirvana is samsara, like as in really knowing like both sides of these. Yeah, it's certainly not to say that we wish ourselves to have the experience of suffering, but there is an opportunity which something like non-duality gives us to play in this space of going, what if it's not what I think it is? What if it's not as bad as I think it is? What if I purely experience something like being in a dentist chair and actually coming out of the right or wrong, good and bad, like pain or free from pain experience of it, and just wholly experiencing it as the experience of what it is? This is something very interesting that non-duality offers us to play with and be like, wow, like, is it possible that I could lie here in this chair and have like my teeth drilled and just to fully meet it as it is? No stepping back, no to the side, no like defensing, no trying to think our way out of it, but actually just being exactly there for what it is.
Yeah, so it comes down to giving up control.
I'd say to a degree, it's yeah, coming out of the perception of control, because I'd say it's a perception a lot of the time that we have of control. I mean, this subject matter does still absolutely fascinate me. That again, you know, do we have any will? Do we create any of it, or is it creating us, or is it both?
Hmm.
And
What do you
this
think?
is something. This is so hard, honestly. This like baffles me. There's times where I go like, I'm definitely creating this, or let's say there has been for sure in the past. And then there's other points where I just go like, there's no way I could have created this. There's no way that this is happening in this way. And it's not even from like, let's say the bad experiences. It's just from the experiences that turn up and you just go like, I couldn't even imagine it to have been how beautiful that it is, excuse me, that it is right now. So I'd say that it honestly has to be both, but maybe that's even like a kind of degree of, let's say, like the egoic gripping mind that still wants to have some kind of authorship.
Yeah.
um but I think that it's kind of important to play, because if we're all of it, then all of it's creating all of it, whether there's somebody here or not.
Hmm. No, that's great said. The three letters just came out of your mouth. The three big letters, ego. Someone once told me edging God out. How do you see the ego? Is it something that exists? Is it something we need? Or is it that little annoying voice in our head who tells us we're not good all the time?
That's a really good question. I mean, I really like the way that somebody like Rupert Spira puts not specifically ego, but like, the kind of finite self and the infinite. It's almost like for the infinite to know itself, it must become finite. It must be a, let's say, perceived individual, you could say egotistical mind. But at the same time, if we become too attached to that belief, as for sure, like I was, like being completely, like, let's say, lost in the belief of everything that the mind produces is what I effectively am, um, then it's very detrimental. But it's almost like this game of hide and seek that we play, like with ourselves. It's like going, there's a point where we go, oh yeah, I forgot again. I forgot again. I really, really believed like the thought producing machine or awareness. And so again, it's kind of a bit like I'd say the ego mind is kind of there for us to be there for the joke of being free of it again.
Hmm.
Like that's the kind of essential nature of it. Being free from that is a phenomenal experience of being like, wow, I can actually choose. Like there seems to be a level of choice about going into the believingness of the very human samsara element of experience. And then there's the reminder from that to be like, wow, I can actually just like experience the purity of being. And so it's almost like this tug. In some ways, the ego again like is almost like this way in which we can actually experience fully catharsis, suffering,
Hmm.
joy, all of these elements. It's only I think the only that per se danger comes is when we just find it too believable.
Yeah. So when you start believing you're really Tom Pryor all the time, the suffering starts.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's a burden because for me, it felt like a burden when I was on the top of my, let's say, fame. It felt like a burden to be Patrick kicking all the time because there were a lot of things attached to it, and it has to be assured all the time. When I did 2 interviews and appeared in the newspaper, it felt good, but then a week nobody called, no journalist looked at me, and I went like, "Oh, where's Patrick kicking right now?" You recognize stuff like that?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. It's kind of like this kind of coming in waves, and there's points where I just like long to be making like a movie and it be very very effortless, and then there's other points where actually there is such joy in just real simplicity, just like waking up in the morning, making a really nice coffee, having some toast, and sitting with my husky, and out in the garden in the coherence of like the birds and the lake, the sea and the trees, and actually just going like, this is it. Like this is it.
Yeah. You don't
And
need
so
anything
this,
else. So it's not about getting an Oscar.
no, it really was like many many years ago. Like it really was when I was at acting school. I was like going, this is like the marker of like let's say success, the pinnacle of what I would have loved to do. I would honestly say that. Uh, there is very little desire for such things now. If it were to happen, I'd be like, great, like enjoy it for the experience that it is. But it doesn't have this momentum like to it at all anymore. I love like collaborating with people. Like I recently just got some more photos done, like portraits and headshots and things like this, just for acting and for magazines and things like this. And I was like, I just love doing this kind of thing, like and collaborating with people and playing and just like seeing just what appears like in consciousness. Like, can I step outside the comfort of Tom and just like play and just like not get attached to the outcome?
Hmm.
And then I sort of end up seeing some of these photos later, and I'm like, these are probably some of the best photos I've ever had taken, like in terms of the experience. So to be able to play is something that I have found has been very, very freeing from this process, like a lot less attachment to it. But of course, it's not to say that like sometimes it's not like, oh, like why do I not get this part? Or like why can I not like play this particular thing? But then a lot of the time I'll look at something and go like, would I actually want the experience of this? And a lot of the time I actually probably would have answered the question actually like no.
Hmm. There's also this statement by a couple of teachers who say, "No awakening without crisis." You agree with that? Do you need a crisis to awaken?
Having worked with a lot of different people, like with some of the coaching work and sort of mentorship work that I've done, I would say that it seems more common that it will be a point of suffering which brings people to this. But I would say not always. I'd say that some people have lives where, let's say, they've experienced a huge amount of um, contentment, like their whole life is very taken care of. You could say that they've done very, very successfully, very well. And now they kind of reach a point where going, there must be more to this because it's so good in some
Hmm.
ways. So I would say that it's not necessarily always suffering. It seems to be in my case that it would say like it's definitely more suffering than so much coherence and joy and abundance. Um, but I would say that it's mostly seems to be suffering, but not always.
Yeah. And there's a phrase in non-duality people love to quote that, don't worry, life is but a dream. Um, how do you feel when you hear those words, people telling you or realizing that it's all just a dream, that it's not real? How do you feel with that thought as an actor also? Because what you're playing in a role is also made up. It's also not real, but we still enjoy it.
In terms of the acting element of it, for sure, like there can be the real beauty of getting totally lost in it and coming out of it again. Like in terms of my job as an actor. In terms of, let's say, life and it being a dream, as you're sort of saying, I believe that it's very important that we have a level of conviction to um yeah, a lot of the time, like this phrase of like it's all an illusion can be thrown around. And an illusion really can like mean that it's not what it appears to be,
Hmm.
but it doesn't mean that it's not real. Because this is very real, like the conversation that we're having, for example, right now, it's very real. And so sometimes I can find it a bit disjointed when non-duality can kind of go after going, none of it's real at all. Because it can kind of go into like nihilism. You know, we can be like, well, then what's the point? And I think this is kind of dangerous. Whereas like there's a real beauty in being able to be like, it's not what it appears to be. So when the ego is having a meltdown and it's just like, we don't get the Oscar or whatever it is, like we don't get this, that, and the other. It's just like it's fine. It's not what it appears to be. And we can have the suffering, we can have the tears, we can have the anger and experience that cathartically. But kind of right there in the back end of experience, we're like, this is just one big joke, like in some ways. And that's sort of such a beautiful fallback to be able to come back to realize that those tears or that meltdown is not the end. It's just like experience rising up like a wave and then kind of calming back down again. And this is more what I would um describe when I speak to people about this is that it's I like to rephrase it, it's not what it appears to be, but it still feels very real. Otherwise, we can kind of get a bit dispensable about it.
Yeah. And it's the same when I go to a movie and someone sits behind me and says, "Oh, that could have been real. That didn't happen." And I say, "Shut up! I'm trying to enjoy the movie."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just got a little mention by this Zoom thing we're using that we only have 8 minutes left. You got the same mention?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how it works when we stop and start recording again. Do you know if it goes on for 40 minutes again? Do you know that?
Um, I think it should, but if not, then I can always send you an invite because
Oh, yeah.
I have like a Zoom Pro account, so it
Oh,
won't cut
wow.
us off.
You're the wealthy one of us too.
I just need it for clients. It's rather like annoying if I'm in the middle of like a meditation with somebody and then it just
Okay.
shuts
I
down.
can imagine, yeah. Because yeah, it's good that you bring that up. What do you do with people? Do you give retreats? Do you do one-on-ones? What do you do?
Yeah, it's a combination actually. Like it's I've done like in-person retreats, and actually sometimes that includes traveling to places that I feel are very coherent in the world. So for example, I've done a retreat in Iceland. This is such a beautiful place energetically as well as sort of visually and experientially. And this is really amazing to sort of go to some really beautiful sites there and have some meditation time, have some just like pure experiential time. Um, Maybe play with some breath work or some cold water or something like this, like to kind of have a sort of full rounded experience. Um, and then, yeah, I work with people online, like one to one. And a lot of the time that will be seeing where suffering is, where there is a strong attachment to, like, let's say the identified mind, the egoic mind. Sometimes it's meditation. Sometimes it includes things like breath work. Breath work is a really, really phenomenal way of working with the mind and the body at the same time. Um, yeah, all kinds of different ways that I work with people online. It very much is a lot of the time a case by case scenario. Some people are coming at it with a lot of coherence and they just want to know what on earth is going on. Some
Hmm.
people have come with very significant trauma or like with very very sort of like humbling experiences to sort of unpack. Um, yeah, quite a kind of quite a significant amount of variation in what I see actually working with people one to one.
Yeah. So you're a famous actor. Why the urge to help people?
Um, because I know what it's like to suffer like
Hmm.
so heavily and be so identified with it, and to the point where, uh, when you don't want to have experience anymore, when you basically long for experience to end, this is terrifying. This is really, really terrifying. And having had this experience and sort of like come out of the other side of it and just gone like, wow, like the real grace of experience, the real beauty of experience. This is something that I really, really love and enjoy helping people with. And it's kind of like my passion to be able to bring this through in one-to-one sessions or in retreat or in movie making or in sort of in filmmaking or in events like atmospheres, things like this, like so that people can get a reminder. Sometimes we just need like a reminder, like shaking up one of these snow globes. It's just
Hmm.
like a reminder to be like the beauty of experience, like the coherence actually that is here. That's really where my impulse really actually is to share and help with other people, is because I know what it's like to suffer so horrifically. Um, Much a lot of the time to the irony of what somebody may perceive me to be on sort of first like glance.
Hmm. Yeah, you could say you have the gift of acting. You know how to act. You're a great actor. And now you have this gift of something you discovered you can't keep for yourself,
Mm, yeah.
maybe? Or is that too big a words?
Um, no, I would say that that's a fair conclusion in terms of just the reminder of how beautiful it can be when we remember we're not what we think we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we're not what we think we are, and we have 3 more minutes left now, what are we then? Some call Eckhart calls it presence. Some call it the source. Do you have words for it to explain what we are in essence?
Yeah, this is super difficult to explain, like always, for sure. But sometimes I'll actually just say, like, it's just this. Like, this is it.
Hmm.
And sometimes that can be a bit difficult because the mind wants to do something with that. But one of the most accurate ways I've kind of found to point people is that, or the kind of other version of it is like if we imagine taking away thought, sensation, all the visual experience, sound, light, we go, what is left? And one way actually, I was in an interview and this phrase came through, which was like, it's like the permanent on switch. And I think that there's something in this which really helped me actually to be like, it's like, one of these like huge switches you see in like a cartoon or something where they're like these like huge levers of on. And like, that's it. Like, that is the essence of all of this. It's like the light, the onness of experience. Is like there's never an off. Even when we go into like deep sleep or deep meditation, or you could say there's nobody left, or even in a very strong psychedelic experience, you can say like you're dead, for example, you're still here. You, like the true you, is still here because otherwise it wouldn't be.
Yeah, sounds great. The honest of life. Yeah, I never heard someone say it like that, but it resonates, to use a
Mm,
spiritual favorite term. Okay, let's wrap up this first part then, if you're okay with that.
sure,
And then I'm going to save it and first try to invite you again. And if that doesn't work, you invite me, okay?
sure.
Okay, see you in a
Okay,
bit.
okay,
Let's see where we have to click. Oh, here we go.
okay.
Ah, great. Yeah. So we can start again for you. Is that okay?
Sure.
So, Tom, there's this great thing called guilt. Um, and I had a lot of it, especially when I thought I was someone with success that all immediately brought up guilt because if I'm the one who brought this success, I'm also the one who makes all the faults. How is that thing of guilt with you? You still carry around a lot of guilt, or did you in the past?
Interestingly enough, I didn't have a lot of uh I don't know if my journey had a lot of guilt. It had like a kind of more of a sense of like always feeling like I'd done something wrong.
Hmm.
So I don't know, I don't know, maybe does that fall under the category of guilt? I'm not sure. But yeah, it kind of came more in like this sort of theme of yeah, I feel like I'm always doing the wrong thing. Like it's almost like it doesn't matter what I do, it will never work out. Something like this.
Yeah. So you were not good enough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely say that. Yeah, exactly. My kind of particular flavor of it came more like this.
Yeah. So I talked to a couple of teachers out of A Course in Miracles. Maybe you heard of it,
Hmm.
this thick
Yeah, yeah.
blue book. It's also non-duality, but with a lot of Christian terminologies. They tell me, well, that's the thing because you think you're separated from the source, from God. That immediately brings up guilt because somewhere deep down we know that we're not running the show, but we're pretending that we're running the show. And that immediately gives you this sense of not being good enough, guilt, all the bad things. How do you look at that? Does this ring a bell with you?
I have done a little bit of work in the A Course in Miracles way, and it was very interesting. I remember actually one teacher I came across saying like your experience of reality is the perpetual argument with yourself,
Ah,
which I
great.
really loved actually. I was just
Yeah,
like, this is such a beautiful way of putting it, actually. And it's very true, as you were just saying about guilt, or in my case, whether it's like, not feeling good enough. Yeah, this is the perpetual argument that we're having with ourselves, like as in like the egoic mind is having with itself. And yeah, I'd say that yeah, guilt, for example. I mean, I know that in relation to A Course in Miracles, it was really like the guilt basically for per se destroying the one ship, or like the oneness of reality. And the thing that I've always found so fascinating about that is that if we take like oneness or wholeness, or dare I say something like bliss or unconditional love, it's almost just like from that place the thought came, what would it be like to be two? And then boom, like you could say the Big Bang or whatever, and then there's this whole experience. Somebody else described it to me. It's a bit like we're seeing how we split off from unconditional love, and now we're watching a car crash in slow motion, and then we end up going back to it. But I guess like the challenge or the reality is, can you do that um, whilst you're still per se alive? And I'd say it's definitely possible.
Yeah, you're an example of that.
I mean, I would never sort of per se claim anything, but I would say that there's certain seeings or experiences um, and reminders, or not even on a daily basis, where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm not that thing.
Yeah,
So it's still like for sure like a kind of an experience. I think like for many people, it's a gradual and steady solidifying like experience of being like, oh yeah, I'm not that. Whereas, some people, it sounds like in sort of Eckhart Tolle's case, it's like sort of one sort of particularly bad night and then um,
boom.
everything kind of switched over. And, it's fascinating actually how people have all kinds of different experiences of this. And yeah, I'd say I'm very grateful for the perspective that now seems to be here, or lack of perspective sometimes.
Yeah, to bring it back to this unconditional love, could you say it's like imagining what it would be like not to be unconditional love, and boom, there was a world with opposites?
Yeah, something like this. I guess like in order to anything to have a reference for anything else, it has to be something other than itself. I really like actually like Alan Watts says, you can't bite your own teeth or like look into your own eyes effectively from the actual eyes themselves.
Or taste your tongue?
Yeah. It's yeah, it's like we have to see or experience like this outward self so that we can know ourselves.
Yeah. If the whole world would be blue, point to the color blue. You can't. There has to be something else than blue to say, hey, that's blue, that's not.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. To bring it one more time back to guilt, we do a lot of projection with that guilt. I don't know if you know it, but one of the things the ego likes, or my ego, or whatever you want to call it, is projecting guilt on others
Hmm.
and saying, I'm right, he's wrong.
Hmm.
Any words on that? We see this happening all the time. Where when a car crash, you mentioned it, happens, the first thing we do is, oh, well, it was not my fault. It's your fault. We always start pointing the finger and saying it's your fault, my fault, whatever. This projection of guilt, you see that happening a lot around you, and how to deal with it.
There's a really powerful thing actually that I did and do actually still with clients now, and it has actually all to do with this, to do with projection, like because projection works like this, as I'm sure you know, which is that we don't want to see that within ourselves, so we just go like, oh yeah, it's them over there, it's whatever, it's the Trump administration, or it's the government, or it's the person who crashed into my car, or that's the person who always, I don't know, whatever, charges too much money for the job that they do for me or something like this.
Yeah.
And then one of the best ways out of this is to go, okay, like what is the judgment? Like, so go, okay, the judgment is like, let's say they're um manipulative. A lot of the time it's because we don't want to see actually that we're manipulative. And so the invitation with these kind of things is to basically go, okay, this person keeps on appearing in my life, or this theme keeps on appearing in my life. What is this trying to show me? And then it's going, okay, it's trying to show me that I have a lot of judgment of myself, that I'm manipulative, but that's why it keeps on appearing in my reality. So if we kind of, let's say, turn the projection back on itself, back into ourself, and go, okay, clearly there is a belief here that actually I am manipulative. but we're outsourcing it out there so that we don't have to feel it, experience it within ourselves. So there's a really beautiful exercise actually that I do with people sometimes, which is to reverse the projection. So we look back within our own self and we connect with whatever we call like spirit or unconditional love, oneness, God, and we just go like, this belief keeps appearing in my life, and so I want you to show me all the times and all the places where I have been manipulative. And then what happens is a really, really curious process that I take people through with this, and I've done it a lot myself, is like, show me all the places where I have been manipulative. And then this onslaught of like all the examples in your life will appear and come up. And as they come up, it's like what we're doing is we're handing it back, almost like for healing, let's say, or redemption, or just letting go of it. It's almost as like they appear, and as they appear, we can go like, I give this back, like in wholeheartedness, like I give this back, like in genuine feeling, being like, I don't want this to be my reality anymore. I don't want to experience this right now. And each time an image comes, we don't have to like psychoanalyze them or anything like this. We just hand back consciously back to source, back to reality, what what this is. All these aspects that are kind of hiding, let's say, in the unconscious. You're like, show me all the places where I've been like this and hand it back. And we just do this as long as it takes. And sometimes it takes 3 minutes and sometimes it takes an hour just because there's so much charge in there. And we hand it back and hand it back. And also through this process, we also feel a lot of this discomfort. We feel a lot of like the guilt or the manipulation or whatever it is. And we're just feeling it up. And it's almost like it's burning it up as we're handing it back. And if there's real sincerity there, and I can say firsthand from this, your whole life can change. People can change, like relationships that where, like, let's say the manipulative person is always there. Sometimes they just disappear from your life, or they just completely change, and suddenly you have a really beautiful interaction with them. This is something that I have found to be so incredibly powerful, and I actually just wanted to share that because for anybody listening, like this is a very, very powerful exercise, which I've found to be very healing.
Great. And in the Course in Miracles, they call it taking back the projection.
Mm.
So I can imagine that's the same. So there's a question by a listener. It's also on the radio. This the self. What is that, Tom? Can you say what the self is?
Um, do you mean like as in like, I mean, I know it's not your question, but just to contextualize it a little bit, as in like, do you mean like as in the self with a capital S, or like let's say more like the small self?
That's a good question because Eckhart awakened when he thought, well, I can't live with myself. Hey, there must be two of us, me and myself. So yeah, that comes to down to that. Which self am I? Am I the self? Is the same self talking to his or herself right now, or himself, or is there a small self? Is there a big self? How do you see that? Are there two selves?
Um, I don't think there are two selves actually. I think there is just this, and within this, there is thought. And then when a thought goes, I am angry, the I am is like the whole self. Everything else that follows is um
Made up.
it's content
Hmm.
within the context. So if the context is the self, like the context is all of experience, the content of experience is um the individual characters. It's like the, I think Rupert Spira probably would describe it almost as like the movie screen. Like we're effectively the screen. We're not the characters in it. So in reality, there's just this. and then there's the content within this, but it
Yeah.
doesn't make us the content. It's just this.
Hmm. Sounds good. So I'm a blank movie screen where everything is projected on, in
Pretty
essence.
much. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a really beautiful way to be able to tap into this, is to tap into our, let's say, our pure nature of being, like, or as we were talking about earlier, like the permanent on switch. When we um it's kind of almost like a dropping into, but when we remember experientially that's what we are, then it's almost like nothing that actually happens on the screen has the same element of charge than it did when we thought we were the character in the movie.
Yeah. It makes me happy when you say that. How come?
I guess because it's, I would say just because it's true, but like there's something within us that kind of acknowledges this. And it's just like, this is this, it, happiness is like your true self's natural state of being, like happiness. And not in a kind of um ecstasis, like not in a kind of roaring with laughter, but just in a peaceful, gentle, happy place. Because it's just like, oh yeah, like I'm not the waves that are annihilating themselves on the surface of the ocean. I am the ocean, and the depths in that ocean, the peacefulness that is at the depths of that water is so solid, so calm, so whole.
Peaceful. Yeah. So there's a documentary on A Course in Miracles on YouTube. They call it, the title is Remembering the Forgotten Song. That struck with me. You hear a melody of the forgotten song, you start to recognize this. I know you're a big fan of music. You also did some music for movies, right?
Mm.
Um, I know one song, one singer who sings about this, Van Morrison. He sings Enlightenment. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you know this song.
I don't know this song.
Yeah, it's a great song. Any music you listen to that brings you immediately into that happy, joyful space again?
Oh, that's such a good question. Um, I mean, talking of, any just comes to mind because you mentioned it, but yeah, one of the films that I worked on, um, in terms of actually ended up getting involved in the music as well, was a film called Firebird, and there's actually a track in there which, it didn't actually ever make it to the actual movie. And I don't want to say it because it's so beautiful, it didn't make it to the movie, but I remember when we were recording the music, in Prague during the pandemic, actually, with the amazing Film Philharmonic Orchestra at the Rudolf Film. Our composer then got the orchestra to start recording this song, and then the director of the movie was actually filming me at the time, listening to this in the audience stand, and I was just like jaw dropped to the ground, and I was just like, what is this song? Like, we had worked with the music composer for weeks and I'd never heard this. And it turns out that the music composer was like, oh yeah, it was just like another one that just sort of like pulled out and thought maybe we could use it somewhere. The song track is called If Rahman Had Lived. Like, Rahman is the main love of the life character in Firebird. Um, and sort of, it's not really a spoiler because it's in the title, but the character passes away. But there's this song which, it's almost like there's this, it gives me goosebumps actually even talking about it now. But it's like it's the song of what would have happened if he hadn't died, and like the love that could have been shared between these two if he hadn't died. And this is like a really beautiful example of of that, it's kind of like where love can exist beyond space and time.
Yeah, great. It reminds me of Beethoven. He composed supposedly his biggest piece when he was deaf. So, and he didn't want to write Beethoven under it, but God given. So, a lot of musicians know that. Bono from U2 once said, I just sit down and let the pen do its work.
Mm.
Most of the great artists know that inspiration comes from somewhere magic, that they can't put up with saying, well, I wrote this number one song. No, I got it. I don't know if you've seen the Michael Jackson movie.
No, I haven't actually.
Oh, yeah, it was quite great. And he once said, I had to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning to make it because otherwise God would have given this inspiration to Prince. And yeah, he was
Oh
really
well.
like this. I'm now open to it. I have to write it down. But
Yeah.
is that what you encounter a lot with great actors, artists, that they get very humble about what they're given?
I'd say if they can recognize it, then yes, like for sure. I have for sure experienced this, and again, I'm going to reference actually the movie that I just talked about, Firebird. There's a moment right at the end of the movie where, like, basically the camera pans in on my face for about 90 seconds. It's a very unforgiving shot as an actor, actually, I have to say, and I was just like absolutely terrified to do it. But there's a moment right at the end where the music kind of crescendos. There's a moment where I look down and then look up, and then two perfect tears literally fall down the face like this. And then people said to me afterwards, they were like, how did you do that? And I was just like, that was not me.
I didn't.
I was
Yeah.
just like, and I was like, honestly, I was like going, I take no credit for this because I was like going, that was something else. That was what we're talking about here. And yeah, I for sure, like, I think that anybody who's experienced this will not claim the recognition of it because there's something so unworldly about it that it's like you couldn't have, like, I couldn't have made that happen if I try, like, to the degree it like matched with the music and the way that it did it is just like. So yeah, I'd say that, like, let's say tuned in, tapped in like artists, also like people who have no idea actually like that it's happening, but they're so kind of attuned that they're just sort of almost being flowed through. um yeah, this is something really, really beautiful.
Yeah, and also great sporters, they call it the zone, right? They
Yeah.
get into the zone and they see themselves like a soccer player, a famous soccer player over here in the Netherlands. He said at the World Tournament, he saw himself scoring the goal,
Mm.
just as everybody else.
Hmm.
Yeah, how is that when you're acting in a movie? Does Tom have to get out of the way? Of course, you're playing another character, but where is Tom Pryor at that moment when you're playing a role?
This, I mean, if we're talking about when there's these beautiful moments where like the self disappears, it's like there's nobody left. Like, this is the thing, is you can't, like, really great acting as well is that you don't remember any of it because it's just as it is. And then, even you can watch it back later, or somebody says to you, oh, I really liked it when you did that, and you're like, did I do that? Because there is there's this sense that nobody's doing it. Sometimes this happens, like if I do like a one-to-one session like with a client like yesterday, and he was like, wow, there was like this moment where like dot dot dot, and I was just like, yeah, where did we go? Like, because speaking was happening like through me, and we were doing like a kind of meditative type practice, but I had to say the same thing. I was like going, I don't know where I went, like as in where Tom went, who was doing the session with you. It was just peace, or not even peace. Like it's hard to describe, but it's like there's nobody here, but it feels like a flow, or there's almost like an any recognition of it in hindsight. It's like afterwards, it was just like, oh yeah, that was cool, but what actually happened during, this is true flow. This is true being.
Yeah. So what are we then, Tom? Are we instruments of the one?
Mm, I mean, I'd say that we're actually always the one. It's just that the mind comes in and just goes, oh no, but you're not the one, or that wasn't the one, or this wasn't the one. And so then it's almost like this afterthought, this after opinion, this after selfing, which happens, which goes like, oh no, that wasn't me, or this wasn't. I remember actually having a conversation actually with Miriam actually at the Univibes interview, and she said, you know, I have like very busy morning and like taking care of the kids or like you know and sort of doing all these kind of things in a very very busy morning, and I'm just you know not present the whole day, and I'm like going, well, where did you go? And she's like, well, I'm not here, but I'm like going, well, who's the one that was there all the time, all the way through it?
Yeah,
And this is the thing that like it's just the perceptual error which we make to be like somebody wasn't here. Actually, you were always here. The true you, true self was always here. Being never ceased to exist. It's just that a thought came along afterwards, being like, I was really stressed, or I wasn't there, or I wasn't present. The belief or the thought, which turns into a belief, like, I should be more present, is just a thought. You
yeah.
were always here.
That's the same when people say I have to get more into the now. Well, try to get out of it.
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah. So to wrap up this beautiful conversation, one movie that came to mind. Have you seen The Adjustment Bureau?
I have, yeah, many years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had to stop it because it gave me so much pain. It's I can remember if I remember it well. It's about two people who want to get together, but it's all kind of things happen that prevent that the two people get together, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, and I saw like yeah the whole thing of life there because we've all been there that you want to fall in love with someone or you fall in love with someone and they don't want you or they can't get with you because their father or mother doesn't want it. Oh, it gave me a lot of pain. The Adjustment
Mm.
Bureau. So, are you working on a movie right now which has non-duality in it?
I am writing something, yeah, um, because I feel like it needs to be done. I feel like it needs to be there, but it doesn't need to be there in such an apparent way that it's like, oh, I'm making a movie about non-duality. It's more like duality is going to be within the movie. And it's sort of like along the lines of a sort of spy espionage type theme.
Hmm.
Um, so that's going to be like the next thing I'm writing. I feel it's very important for me to create productions right now as well as be considered for them. Um, Simply because I really love being in productions. And also I really love creating the environment and sort of like the creative pen behind them as well.
Yeah. One movie with Bill Murray, The Limits of Control. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't actually. I've seen a lot of Bill
Oh,
Murray movies, but I've not seen that one. This
oh,
sounds
that's
really interesting.
yeah. There I see it looks like it's about a mysterious stranger who is trying to complete a criminal job. But when you really look at it from the Advaita or the non-duality perspective, you see this whole thing played out there. You see in one scene you see a helicopter, and it's sort of like the ego which is flying around and judging everything and looking for him. And yeah, I watched that movie a couple of times, and yeah, as we said in the beginning, a lot of great art represents this, right? Is there a book coming out? Because you can talk so beautifully about this. You can write it down also, or let AI write it down for you.
Maybe I should do that actually. Like a number of people have actually said like I should write a book. I just don't really know what format it would be. And I don't know if it's like a kind of like a handbook or if it's like a memoir or if it's like a
Well,
yeah,
everything
what
you
do you think?
discovered. Yeah,
Yeah, that's not a bad idea actually, but thank you for the encouragement to do it.
yeah. So any great things we have to check out which are available online from you? That you are there recordings of retreats or sessions you did or a satsang or whatever?
Um, so yeah, in terms of the sort of non-duality work, I have a YouTube channel which is called The Light That We Are. Um, and the name behind that really is just the sort of remembrance of what we are beyond the illusion of this. So yeah, there's some videos on there. I'm regularly putting stuff on my Instagram, which is Tom Pryor the second, or um, there is the light that we are as well, Instagram. Um, and then yeah, then there's movie work as well, and I've got a lot of really beautiful things like which people have said about the most one of the most recent movies I made, which is Firebird. Really just about the non-duality reference that are in there. It's not explicitly a non-duality film, but there's a lot of non-dual references in there, and it can really um, help change people's perspectives on what we take love to be and how love would act.
Oh, great. Thanks again, Tom, for having this talk with me. Please also check out the Univibes talk, which is done. Was that one or two talks?
Um, it was two, but I believe that there's just one on YouTube because we
Yeah,
actually had such a good time online that we actually ended up recording it all in person. So yeah,
yeah, it's
maybe
great.
be able to meet again at one point in person. I'd really like that.
Yeah, please let me know if you come over to the Netherlands or maybe Belgium. I can imagine that a lot of people will have to or would want to meet you in person when they see this interview. Let's see, any more things I have to step on? Well, Rupert Spira, I did a phone interview with him on the phone a couple of years ago. It's also on the same channel. And if people want to reach you, are you open for that? Can we uh, send you a DM or?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm always very grateful to hear from people and have people share their perspectives or ask genuine questions um, about um, about these subject matters. For sure, yeah. Like I said, it's beautiful to be able to help and be of some assistance and also just yeah to continue to create. So like equally also creative partnerships or collaborations as well. I'm very open to discussing.
Yeah, great. Okay, let me stop the recording. Thanks again and have a great time in Estonia, Tom.
Thanks a lot, Patrick.